Explain to me, first of all, why did you do the deal and why did you do it now? And in your statement, you said to make it a simpler company, a stronger company. Is it to simplify? Is it to get the money, reduce the leverage? What drove you?
David, good afternoon. Thanks for having us on this afternoon. A host of motivations, but I think you hit the key point. This really marks the transformation of GE into a pure play industrial. We think when we close the merger with AerCap, we end up in a position where we're more focused, we're simpler to understand, and frankly, we're a stronger company going forward. You highlighted the fact that it's an important and I think value-creating deal for both parties. The strategic logic of putting these companies together is compelling. The $30 billion consideration for us is good value, helps us tend to our deleveraging. More importantly, we have a 46% position in the combined company. You'd never exit at this point in the aviation cycle. We're not. We're investing in the combined company that Gus Kelly will lead. We're excited about that. And you also mentioned the de-risking. What this will allow us to do is take those proceeds and some additional monies, and as we took investors through this morning, reduce another $30 billion of debt. That'll bring to over $70 billion of debt reduction since the end of 2018. So all the way around, we think it's a good transaction. Why now? Like any deal, you really need a number of things to come together. I'd say one, GE's in a much stronger position to do something like this. Second, we have an outstanding partner in Gus and the AerCap team. And third, you need supportive markets. And with the bridge financing in place, I think the stage is set for us to do this. A good combination, a good answer for GCAS and certainly for GE.
So, Larry, from the very beginning, you promised you would get that leverage down, and you have done it, goodness knows, something like $70 billion. Impressive. At the same time, I wonder if this says something about your perception of the longer-term prospects for that business, because you do have a 46% interest, but let's be honest, if you really thought there was a lot of upside there, and particularly more upside than in your other businesses, you'd be a buyer, not a seller.
Well, David, I'll always be honest with you, I promise. But if you look at GE today, we have been on a multi-year journey to significantly de-risk the company and deleverage. And obviously, a good bit of that activity has been focused on GE Capital. And with this merger, we will take our GCAS business. It becomes a discontinued operation. At closing, the rest of GE Capital will be merged with corporate. We'll go to one simple, single-column set of financials. So I would argue that we're investing in the combined company, rolling over our equity, if you will, in the business that Gus will lead going forward. But in turn, this really does allow us to focus on renewables, on power, on healthcare and aviation, these large leadership franchises we have the world over, focused on the most important problems in front of the world today, be that the energy transition, precision healthcare, and the future of flight. So again, I think it's a good deal on its face, but the impact, the strategic impact for GE can't be understated today.
Does it have some effect potentially on your aviation business, particularly your sale of particularly used jet engines? Because didn't GCAS give you something of a leg up, and are you losing that now?
I don't think we're losing anything here, David. And there's a lot of history. You know that as well as I do. But really, from the first day I was on the board nearly 3 years ago, this is something that has been under review. And that question has certainly gotten a lot of scrutiny. We're looking forward to continuing to have a strong relationship with both GCAS and AerCap. But GE Aviation does what it does off its own bottom. And we're convinced, as many people who tuned in today to our investor outlook, that as John Slattery highlighted, we're ready to continue to lead the industry, both in terms of servicing the installed base of engines as planes are returned to service, as well as the next generation aircraft, narrow body, wide body, and military.
Your stock took a little bit of a hit today, which surprised some people, but it appears to be because at least there's a one-time reduction in free cash flow because of this transaction. Take us out into the future. Can you replace that free cash flow from your other businesses, or does this represent perhaps a diminishment going forward for General Electric in free cash flow?
Well, I think it's hard to parse through the trading tape this week, given that some of the news that we shared this morning was out there earlier. But we reiterated today, David, our free cash flow outlook for the year, the $2.5 to $4.5 billion of free cash that we shared with everyone at the end of January. And I think going forward, as we are that more focused, that stronger company, we're clearly going to be in a position to just focus more of our time and energy on these businesses and in turn have that drive better results. One of the other things we reiterated today is our view that over the next few years, you should expect to see the GE businesses generate free cash flow at the high single-digit to percent to sales level. I think that's within our capability. We just need to get on with it.
So let's talk about what comes next, because in your statement, you said this allows you to shift more to offense. And you mentioned investing in new technologies, particularly in energy, healthcare, and flight. As you're taking a look at that, are you looking at investing in R&D? Are you looking at acquisitions? What are you taking a look at?
All the above, David. I think what we want to do is not in any way declare mission accomplished on the deleveraging. That's not what today is about. And by the same token, all the good lean work that we've done to improve safety, quality, delivery, and productivity across our businesses is just beginning. But all that said, with the progress that we have, I think, delivered to date, we do have now the opportunity, let alone the capital, to spend more time looking to accelerate growth in the business. In the near term, that's just making sure that we're doing a great job selling and marketing the products and services that we offer today, while we conceive new ones and invest longer term in breakthrough technologies. That's what's driven GE for a century, and that's clearly the recipe that we continue to be committed to. That said, being a better capitalized company will allow us to have more options with respect to capital allocation, be that acquisitions, let alone dividends, buybacks, all those options that aren't as real today for us as I know the management team and the board aim for them to be down the road.
Just as you promised you would reduce the leverage of General Electric, you also promised to simplify. One of the issues, I think, for a lot of investors is they couldn't quite figure out what was going on in the company. It was just too complicated. Are you done with the simplification? Because I noticed that GE Capital pretty much is gone now. You're going to take the insurance part in particular into corporate. Is there further spinoff there, perhaps, of the insurance business?
Well, when we talk about making GE simpler, David, I think we're really talking about the focus on the four industrial businesses. With this transaction, we will go to single column financial reporting, something that investors have really clamored for some time. I think they'll be delighted when they see our financials in the future. But that said, we do have a long-term care insurance runoff liability that we're working through. Our disclosures won't change in that regard. That's been a point of pride for the team here. We will continue to share that information as we bring what remains of GE Capital into corporate. But continuous improvement is just that. It's continuous. We'll continue to look for opportunities to take cost out of the organization, to improve our productivity and our service to customers.
So as you look around, what is the most promising part of General Electric to you? Is it power? Is that where the promise lies? Is it healthcare? Because healthcare right now looks like a good bet, given what's going on with the pandemic.
David, we've got four businesses. I've got three kids at home. You just asked me which of my three kids do I love the most, right? We know we're on the front lines of the energy transition in both renewables and power. Investors heard today from John Slattery, the aviation CEO, Russell Stokes, CEO of our services business, as to how we're poised as aviation returns to flight here, hopefully over the course of this year. And our precision healthcare does incredible work. They were on the front lines in Wuhan. All throughout the pandemic, they have done, I think, important service to clinicians around the world. There's a lot going on in that business that we're excited about. So on any given day, I'm with at least one of those businesses, and I usually leave pretty fired up.
Yeah, I bet that's right. I have no doubt about that. Let me just ask one more question, if I could, about the deal with GCAS. There are some people who wonder about the regulatory aspects, about antitrust review, because you are taking, I think, the number one and the number two businesses in the market and putting them together. As you assess this, as you looked at the deal, what kind of risk did you attach to that?
Well, David, as you would imagine, anytime you have a structure like that, both boards, I'm sure, scrutinized that question carefully. We need to take the time to let regulators do the work that they will do, and we'll work with them in support of that review. But that said, the aviation leasing industry is a highly fragmented global space, lots of recent entrants, many people on the sidelines looking to put money to work. We think that at the end of the day, we will work through the regulatory review and close the transaction.